All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're unpacking a deeply complex and, frankly, tragic historical narrative from the streets of Somalia. We're looking at a story titled Shadows over Mogadishu, The Fall of the Giants. In this explainer, we're going to visually dissect an operation that kicked off with just absolute sky-high military confidence, but then rapidly deteriorated into an enduring historical mystery. We'll explore the tactical failures on the ground, and then we'll connect those horrific battlefield events directly to the massive political fallout back in the United States.
So, picture this. It's October 3rd, 1993. To the elite Delta Force and Army Rangers stepping up that day, the timeline was supposed to be completely straightforward. It was supposed to take exactly 1 hour. That was the plan, right? A brisk, lightning-fast operation right in the heart of Mogadishu. And the confidence? It was off the charts. I mean, these soldiers were literally the best of the best, executing what they fully believed would be a swift, surgical, and overwhelmingly successful strike. They had the training, they had the gear, and they had the mandate. But instead, that single afternoon changed U.S. military history forever. What was meant to be a routine daylight raid totally spiraled into the bloodiest urban battle for the U.S. military since Vietnam. The sheer scale of how quickly things went sideways is just staggering. So let's break down exactly how this happened. Section 1, the 1-hour mission. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the stark, almost unbelievable contrast between the military's expectation and the terrifying reality they actually faced. On the one hand, the expectation was a simple 1-hour lightning strike to capture 2 high-ranking lieutenants of a local warlord. Basically a quick snatch and grab. But look at the reality. They got trapped in a 15-hour bloody urban battle. It's just a stunning, tragic pivot from a perfectly planned operation to absolute chaos. Moving on to Section 2, the Giants Fall. Let's look at the timeline here because the pacing of this is wild. Minute 1, the drop happens. Everything's in motion. But incredibly, by minute 40, the first Black Hawk helicopter is literally blasted right out of the sky. Then at hour 1, the unthinkable repeats itself. A second Black Hawk goes down. And by hour 2, the local militia has completely swarmed those crash sites. You have the absolute pride of American aviation, these highly advanced helicopters brought down by primitive rocket launchers. The shock of this sudden tactical failure basically paralyzed the entire operation. In an instant, the hunters became the hunted. Really, that's the only way to describe it. The soldiers fast roping from those helicopters expected to be the aggressors, right? The ones completely in control. But as the city erupted and those mighty choppers fell, thousands of armed militia members immediately mobilized. They effectively trapped the American soldiers in a labyrinth of hostile streets. The entire dynamic of the battlefield flipped upside down in just a matter of minutes. Section 3, a night of terror. The horrifying math of the situation quickly became clear. 100 to 1. As night fell, a small, isolated group of American soldiers stood entirely alone against an entire city. They were outnumbered nearly 100 to 1. Just pause for a second and think about the psychological weight of that number. A tiny handful of guys against a vast, hostile city. So what did they do? Well, they fought house to house, inch by inch. Every single corner, every narrow alleyway became a desperate, close-quarters fight for survival. At this point, they aren't even fighting to complete the mission anymore. They're fighting just to protect their fallen comrades against a literal ocean of enemies pressing in on them from all sides in the pitch black. 15 hours. That's how long this nightmare lasted. Imagine the haunting suspense of that night, you know? Waiting in the tense, heavy silence between gunshots for a backup that felt like it was absolutely never going to arrive. How did a handful of men survive against those odds for 15 agonizing hours? The sheer psychological and physical endurance required to hold out in that environment is mind-blowing. Which brings us to Section 4, the political fallout. When the smoke finally cleared over Mogadishu, the grim statistics were all that was left. 18 American soldiers were dead, 73 were wounded. And we have to remember, these aren't just numbers on a page. These represent the tragic human cost of a mission that completely unraveled, leaving families utterly shattered back home. And a geopolitical shockwave immediately followed. The brutal images of the aftermath, broadcast back home, literally shook the conscience of the United States. That political and public fallout was massive, and it was immediate. The sheer horror of what happened forced a complete U.S. withdrawal from Somalia. What started as a focused tactical mission completely and permanently altered American foreign policy, a total paradigm shift. And finally, Section 5, an enduring historical enigma.
All of this forces us to ask a really provocative question. Was this a heroic rescue mission or a catastrophic failure of leadership? How was the world's most powerful military, with all of its vast intelligence and resources, caught completely off guard? It really makes us look critically at the intelligence failures and ask how these young men were sent into a deadly trap they couldn't easily escape.
Ultimately, the answers remain buried in the bullet-written walls of Mogadishu. The battle remains a chilling historical mystery and a pretty stark reminder of the unpredictable and devastating nature of war. I hope these slides helped clarify the sequence of this tragic event and its massive political ripples. Keep questioning the history around us, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.